guys.
A shit show, a pure shit show. It literally takes a village.
I don't know if it was dirty or clean.
Oh my god.
Mom. Like
Yeah.
on the video. Yes.
Because I'm shining.
Woo! That was good, guys.
Cheers! And today we are having drinks again from Sugarcane Junkie. Look how cute these are. So what she does is she sends a DIY gift box, and it comes with like the drink mix. It comes with the cups, the straws, and the candy that you add. So all you basically need is just ice in a blender, and you pour it in there, and then you have these like cute drinks, and they're really good too. And this one is called Quarantine.
So
And
if you're
we've all been
listening and not watching the YouTube, it has all these cool candies in it.
Yes.
It's delicious.
And I think you can just like, I think her Instagram is just Sugarcane Junkie, but.
Wait, she even mails you the alcohol to put in there?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
how cute.
But someone I think has to sign that they're 21 once it's delivered.
Someone?
So don't, yeah. Someone better be home. It's really good though. Oh
That
my
is
god.
So can like
Wow.
an underage person order it?
No, they won't. It has on there that you have to show your ID to accept it
that's
that you're
cool.
21.
Interesting.
Okay, so you guys sent us your questions via Instagram and our Facebook group. So go ahead, Roni. Dive on in. Take it away.
Okay.
Janelle. What, Miss Janelle?
So I'm like, that's not the question.
So, did you make changes to your discipline style now that kids are home full time? That's a good question. That is a good question.
Marian.
I did change. Well, I think at the beginning of quarantine, everything was so hectic and my mind was all over the place that when I would snap at Landon, I would just be like, go to your bed, get out of here, kind of thing. And not even like discipline him like how I would normally. Like normally I'd send him to timeout or whatever. But I was at the point where I just wanted him out of my face kind of thing. So since then I have gone back and put him back in timeout. And there's more like structure and reasoning behind each discipline now versus when my mind was all over the place and didn't care what I was doing. I was just snapping at it.
So you feel like you're more calm during quarantine versus crazy.
Yes.
Which is interesting
Yeah, 'cause I know
because
that
we
was
have our
crazy.
kids now longer in the day and you feel more calm.
Well, Landon has gone back in person to school, so I get a little break.
Okay, so is this your discipline style? Did it change before he went back to school?
Before he went back to school, when we were doing that
since
little.
he's been back in school?
It changed prior to him going back to school, yes.
So you can still say that it was kind of calmer.
Yes.
Okay.
I can relate to that though, because I actually feel like I'm not as snappy, which is kind of confusing because they are home and so you're seeing them more, they're getting into more things, but I don't know, for some reason I'm not as like, what? I felt like it was way more crazier before quarantine, which is, that's something I didn't even really think about.
Do you think it's because we have less on our plate? We have more on our plate with our kids, but less on our plate with the world. You know what I mean? Like we don't have as many activities to go to.
Yeah.
We don't have to get as rushed.
We're not as rushed. Yeah, we have nowhere to freaking go.
Exactly.
So now we kind of have less on our plate.
I think
and
so.
more time to like parent them.
And I feel like quarantine put a lot of things in perspective for me and like just made me not be so snappy and like, because you never know what the end result is going to be with the world or anything. So I just feel like I'm just going to take this time and try to, you know, just be as gentle and not as snappy and just be present and not crazy. And I feel like I've taken in those little techniques and I don't feel like I'm all over the place snappy like how I was before, to the point where someone was like, "Mom, I can have a snack," and I'm like, I would snap. Oh my god, yeah, I would transform.
No, what would you say? Backhand.
Yeah. Oh my
the
god, thank you, quarantine. Yep.
Snack.
Snack. Oh, thank you, quarantine.
I love how you said more gentle. I wish I could say I was more gentle.
Well, remember when the kids were over and they were like running and stuff, and you were like, "This doesn't bother you that they're screaming all over the place?" And I was all calm. I'm like,
well, because it was Christmas time and there was so many decorations everywhere, you couldn't even walk.
And your house was like so nicely decorated.
Head to toe, I just felt like they were just gonna get snagged on a light and just rip the whole, like a movie. You know, rip the whole thing down.
That was all.
And you would have like been one of those Stepford wives that like eventually pops. No. So for me, I feel like, okay, I stopped flicking my child in the mouth. Remember that was on my old one.
What?
Remember Ray was like talking back and I flicked her in the mouth?
It was one time.
But now, so we read that
she
book.
Doesn't get any more flicks.
What is that book that I said? Raising Lions a while ago. We read that book in the beginning of quarantine. And since then, I started watching my niece, babysitting my niece, who's pretty rambunctious too. She has a lot of energy. So I feel like it was perfect timing because with the two toddlers together, it was like they would have ran me over and tag teamed me. Mm-hmm. But I was implementing his techniques on like immediate breaks, you know, and not long breaks, like not 5-minute breaks. It's like a 1-minute break, and it worked wonders. Like at first, the first week, I thought, oh my God, this is not working. No, I want to say the first 2 days. First 2 days, it wasn't working. They were just going crazy. And I'm like, fuck this break, this minute break. They're just laughing at me, you know, like this is a joke. But the third day, if they had like, I would give them one break, and then that was it. It's like they remembered, like, okay, I'm going to get a break if I do this again. So then they would be fine. And I feel like for months it's been
Is that like a 1 minute timeout?
Nice. It's basically a timeout, but you call it a break. And I want to say the reason why you call it a break instead is because throughout life, when we're older, we all need a damn break. You know, sometimes we need a breather. So it's not giving it that negative, like, you're on timeout, you're in the corner. It's like, hey, you need a break. You need to chill out. You know, you need a breather. Like and so even now when my daughter starts like having a little bit of a meltdown, I'm like, do you need to go sit down and have a break and just take a breather, you know? And she knows it'll be a minute, so she's like, no,
I'll get it.
And it's actually been better because I've been calmer. It doesn't you don't have to get them on, you're gonna go on a break, or like try to get that fear in them. It's just like, okay, you said no, you know, like then let's go sit on a break, you know, and you can be calm about it. And it's really weird because I never thought I could be a calm discipliner, but it's been so helpful, and I don't have to get my anger up really high, and they know that I mean no nonsense. So like, for example, if I tell my daughter, okay, it's lunchtime, and she's like, nope, you know, or whatever, I'll be like, okay, let's go on a break. And so even if for like those smaller things like back talk, because I'm not going to deal with back talk when they're older, so I need to nip it in the butt while she's young. So her just saying no and having like a little attitude, I'm like, okay, let's go on a break, so that she can know I mean business and you don't come at me with attitude at a young age, you know? And so far it's worked really, really good. And I've been in it, it's almost been a month since we've been in during this COVID quarantine stuff. Or not a month.
A year.
I meant a year. Oh my God, my brain. It's this. I blame the junkie. But I actually have started trying it with my older kids because, you know, I have an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, and my 12-year-old really tries to like manipulate and do the whole like, mom, and then ask a million times the same question after I say no. So after he asks me something, and if I say no, then he tries to be funny and do it again, and I'm like, okay, you want a break? And then he's like, but mom, and I'm like, okay, go sit down on a break. Or, you know, and then I actually make them, like, at first they would laugh because they're like, I'm not gonna do a timeout. But I'm like, I'm serious, go sit down.
This is not a game, get over there.
And if I have to wait for you, I was like, if I have to wait for you to go sit down, then you're gonna get time dinged off of your video games. And then they run to go sit down because all of a sudden they're like, oh, forget this, you know? Yeah. So it's really interesting how well it works, and you don't have to get mad. You could be laughing about it, like, okay, go take a break. You know, like, you're not bothering me. You're just gonna go take a break because you were disrespectful, you know? And then after the minute, I time it for a minute, and when And when the minute's up, it's up, and then they're fine. I don't have to be all upset.
For the two, you don't put more time on it since it's an older kid?
For the for the older kid? No,
it's
the
still
same.
a minute?
It's a minute. That's why it's kind of almost comical for the older kids, but it's like a reset button. Like, I'm serious, and look, I'm still in charge here. Go sit your ass down and be embarrassed on a 1 minute break, you know? And it's kind of like a power, like you're showing them that you're the one that's in charge. You're the one that has the power, you know? So that's what has been helping. I haven't had to spank. I haven't had to really scream. You know, it's literally, you guys got to read the book. I'll link it. It's been awesome.
That's good.
It's been awesome.
Our next question is, how did you wean your toddler from baby food to solids? Ronnie?
I was just gonna let you guys handle it. You have the smaller ones.
But is he on solids? Oh yeah, he's on
He's
solids.
on solids. He's been on solids probably for a while, right? Oh, let
seen
me
him
think
eat.
in the archives. Sheesh. I feel like what did I do? I mean, I just got the solids and stuffed it in their mouth.
At what age did you start? Like, were you nervous about giving them? I remember I gave your daughter rice, and you were like, Janelle, if she breaks out with allergies.
Rice?
Yeah, she was 6 months old.
But it
You
was
came over for 4th of July.
and not
But it was
like
allergy
potential.
And I was like, they can have rice at this age, and I gave her rice because Mexicans always give babies rice.
But
you
didn't they
didn't
have
even ask
something else?
first?
No, she just gave it to her. Like exactly,
you.
right? And then I think the rice had something in it too. Like it wasn't just
tomato
rice.
sauce. It was Spanish rice.
You know, my kids. That's a possibility.
I
They could
could've
be
killed
allergic.
your child.
My kids are allergic to everything.
I didn't realize that.
So,
that's awful.
So my transition was a little different because they all have allergies. Like I had to like be very, very careful with how I introduced them into things. And I think I might have like scarred them or did this the wrong way because I would take what one kid was allergic to and I would be scared to give the other kid that because I'm like, well, Devin had allergies to this, so then maybe Peyton will have allergies. So sometimes I wouldn't like to try new foods or solids and stuff until I actually had their allergy test done.
At
So
what
ours
age
was
would you
a
get
little
it done?
different. So my kids got them as early as 6 months. They would do like they couldn't do the pricking on the back until
I was
you
gonna
are
say,
no,
did that
they
to a
couldn't do that one
6-month-old?
until you're 2 or 3. But the blood test one, you can do that early on, especially if you already have children who have allergies.
And that's accurate?
It's not as accurate as the pricking the back, but it will still help you to know what to try to avoid and stay away from. And then if it had like a lower percent, sometimes the doctor would advise that like you can try it if you want and just see if they have a reaction. Like for instance, we had started giving Harley like spaghetti early on, and she would have a reaction like around her mouth from the sauce, and she loved it though. She loved it, so we would keep giving it to her, and it wouldn't really like harm her too much. She would just have the red spots, and we built like a tolerance for it. But on paper, it was like stay away from that. But since
so
we
if
already
you would have read it on paper first, you probably wouldn't have even given it to her. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Because don't they say if you give babies peanut butter like as a baby?
I'm so scared of peanut butter. Peanut butter is so iffy though.
That
because it's such a big allergy for some kids. Like some kids are deathly allergic to peanut butter that I'm like,
peanuts.
I don't even mess with it. Like Peyton, for instance, we found out that he's allergic to a certain amount of nuts. Like there's like 5 nuts that he's allergic to, but then the other ones he's not. But I'm like, I'm just going to avoid them all because if he's somewhere and he's like, is that a pine nut or this nut? Like, I don't even want to take the chance. So I just say, you're allergic to all of the nuts because I don't even want to deal with it.
So we had the allergy test for my son because he wanted a dog, and we swore that he was allergic to dogs because he would always get puffy and watery. Not immediately, but like a day later. And that was only if he spent the night with a dog, like in the same house. But he also had that reaction to cats. So anyway, we got him tested, and come to find out he's allergic to all kinds of trees.
Oh.
Did you know that you could be allergic to trees?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What the fuck?
Absolutely.
Certain kinds of trees, yeah.
That's so trippy.
Grass, olives.
Yeah, so they're
all
like,
kinds of
does he play sports? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, outdoors? And I'm like, yeah. And does he have allergic reactions to
But
being
see, did he
outside?
Yeah.
And I mean, the kid has been stuffy in his nose since I can remember, like forever.
That's probably why.
But that's probably
he does
why.
football, right?
Yeah, he plays football. He plays on the
And
grass,
grass,
soccer,
yeah, and that's
baseball.
why.
Poor kid. He's just been living. Oh my God, I'm
Living with it.
burpy. Sorry again. I'm always living with it. I get all these hiccups. Okay, so for me, when I introduced the babies, I think they were like 4 months is when you give them the oatmeal, right? And then
Well, when did you give your kids rice? Since you gave my kids rice.
around 6 months, yeah, because I wanted their little digestive system to like work and stuff, and I would just do like a little bit of rice. It wasn't a lot. And then slowly I would just kind of let them pick off my, not pick off my plate, but I would give them stuff from my plate. And my best eater was my daughter, because I did that early on. Because with the boys, I gave them baby food, because I was the new mom, and I was like, oh, well, they get baby food. And I wasn't very organic or anything. I didn't make anything. So I just gave them the jars. And I think back then I was on that WIC program with my first one. So they would give you free baby food. I was a young mom, and so I had the WIC, and I had all the free baby foods, and I was like, all right, yeah. So I just fed them all that, and it was a hard transition to get him to eat like regular foods once he turned 1. He was such a picky eater, yeah. And then my second one, I pretty much did the same thing, but my third one, I was a little older, and I was like, you know what, like other families were having kids and they were just going straight to more of a soft solid food, like real table food. So I did that, and I didn't really give her any or like much. You know what I would give her? I didn't give her the jars, but if we were on the go, I would give her the little pouches that had like apples with sweet potatoes and I would make sure it had the vegetables. But other than that, I would give them the like food from the table, you know, table foods that were soft for them. And she was the greatest eater, but once she hit like 1.5 years, I think, is when my dad got sick, and he, like, after that, when he was diagnosed with cancer, we were always with him and stuff and trying to like figure out like how we could help him. That everything was just fast food, and so with her, I just went back to jars. You know, or not back to jars, but I did the baby food jars, and then that was it. She was a crappy eater after that. She didn't want solids, but I'm so excited because she just turned 3. And let me tell you, I've been just feeding her the things that she'll eat, which is usually white rice, bread, pizza. Oh my God, it's like awful foods. She didn't want eggs. She didn't want
Would you try?
any
You would
meat.
try though?
I would try to put it on there. The doctor's like, just put it on her plate. Maybe she'll eat it. She would never eat it. And then I'm not gonna let her starve. So then I would just give her the starches, like the rice, and you know, make sure. And then I would give her the brown rice too, because I wanted her to have something healthy. But what she does like is the protein shakes. You know, that have like the little. I do the Orgain chocolate one, and she likes that one that has a banana and stuff. She doesn't even really like fruit, like strawberries and stuff. She's really weird, but so I know that the boys were picky, and around 5 that's when they started coming around, and I don't know if that was because we could threaten them and they actually got it, but I knew eventually she would come along, and now she's the earliest one to come along. She's now eating like meats, and she's like trying different things. I cut it up so small so that, and then I feed it to her like this tiny little niblet at a time, and we're there all night long, but she eats it, and so I'm so excited, and she likes it plain. She doesn't like all the sauces and stuff. So yeah, so my advice would be to be patient, because she was very picky, and obviously I feel like when they're really young, you can't really force it down their throat.
And I feel like each child is different. Like what she tried earlier, the boys were like, we're not having it, but now she's eating it. So
but do you think too, because she sees like the older, like her brothers eating more variety, like she's more open to trying what they're eating too?
I don't know. I'm not really making her other options. Like, because with the boys, I used to make them, like, if they didn't like my meal, then I would make them chicken nuggets or something that they like. But this one I refuse, because, like, there's 5 of us, and now I'm like, sister, you're going to eat one of these sides. You know, like, I'll make a side that I know for sure she'll like corn or white rice, or rice in general. So I know she's going to have something to eat, and then I'll put the other things on her plate. She would never touch them. Oh, but you know what I do is I'll put the things that I know she doesn't like on her plate, so that I have a bargaining tool. Like, for days that she's like, I don't want to eat it, and I'm like, oh well, do you want the green stuff? Then you want this vegetable, you know? And then she'll be like, no, and then I'm like, okay, then taste this. And I noticed that if I leave it up to her to feed herself, she's not going to eat it. I have to sit there with her and like give her little bits at a time. And if the chunks are too big, I think it's too overwhelming, the taste, and she doesn't like it and the texture and all that. So dicing it up and just patiently feeding has worked. So
What if
far.
that? I noticed Harley does this weird thing where anytime like it's on her dad's plate, like she likes to eat with him.
Really?
Regardless of what it is. Like she was eating sushi the other day, like sushi, and like just eating it, and I'm like, huh, that's weird. But I think because it was on
His
Howard's
plate.
plate, like she just likes to eat with him, which
That's
is weird.
funny.
For the boys, I started them both at like 6 months. Like well, you know, you start with the baby cereal or oatmeal or whatever. But then to solids, I would just make them things that were soft. Like I'd give them bananas but you know, like cut up, or eggs, like scrambled eggs, and I would just serve it. And if they didn't touch it, I would, well, like with Landon, he was a good eater when he was little, so I never had an issue with him. And then as he got older and his taste buds changed, he would start like not liking colored food, like all the greens and stuff. But I would tell him, like, just take one bite, and if you don't like it, you don't have to have it anymore. But you just need to try before you say no. And there were times where like he would like it and then end up eating it, and then there's things where he didn't like, and I was like, okay, well, thanks for taking the bite. At least you know what it tastes like.
Right.
What age did you start that?
Probably like 3,
Okay.
because I knew he like understood, and there was more variety on his plate versus like Levi, who is 2 now. Like I'm starting that with him now. Like you need to take a bite. Like he does a lot of, like, he's at the stage where he's copying Landon a lot. So like I give them the same foods, and if he's not touching it, I make him, you know, take a bite. Or like Landon will be done with his food and Levi's like, I'm done. And I'm like, no, you didn't touch that, so you need to take a bite and then you can be done. So like at least they get the flavor. But like Landon was such a good eater, I had higher expectations for Levi, and Levi's like more picky. Like he's the type, he loves like potatoes and fries, like, but he loves fruits but hates vegetables. Like he can eat strawberries and I don't know, what, blueberries, all day long. But if
don't mess with him.
And Landon was more of a veggie kid.
Really?
So like I could put green beans and broccoli on Landon's plate and he'll eat it all, but not the fruit. They were like opposite taste buds. But I just, both of them now make them like, it's like a no thank you bite. Like you take the bite, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to eat it anymore.
But at least you make them try it. I like
We
that.
do that with our older boys, because the older boys, like, they're pretty good. They're pretty good eaters now, but back then they were awful.
Yeah.
But they still don't like mashed potatoes. Like, what kid
Like,
doesn't
there's
like mashed
texture.
potatoes? Like,
Some
certain
kids
things
don't
they
like
don't
texture.
like. So I'm like, okay, just take one bite. We do the whole one bite thing. And they swear, and even, they're so weird, like, they're like, oh, it's not that bad. And I'm like, okay, do you want more? And they're like, no. And I'm like, you're so weird. If it's not that bad, then just eat it, you know? Like,
and I remember talking to the doctor about that, like the pediatrician, and she's like, you know, at certain ages, their taste buds change, and like, they'll like something one day and not like it the next day. Like, you just, as long as they know what it tastes like, they'll figure out if they like it or not. Like, I remember hating sushi when I was little, but now I love sushi.
Right.
So I think
So
it
it
just changes as you get older.
But what's funny is I remember, if I'm not mistaken, like, I remember, like, I didn't have a choice. Like, I would have to eat it. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I taste it, I don't like it. It was like, well, if you don't like it, then guess what? You're not eating. Like, literally, I remember sitting at the table for hours with my plate there, and I could not get up until the plate looked different. And I remember, I think I fell asleep at the table because I couldn't get up until I finished it. Like, and now, as new parents are like, one bite, at least you tried it. But I remember not being able to, like, not have an option.
But they say, like, when you do that, you're, like, forcing them to overeat. Like, I think that's what I've learned as I got
it's
older.
definitely
Like,
something that they were
you
doing
don't want
to
to
us.
teach your kids to eat when they're not hungry, because then you're teaching them to overeat as they get older, and then they become obese.
But
and
it
then
was at dinner time. It was like dinner
intuitive
time.
eating.
Yeah.
It was at dinner
Like,
time.
I'm not intuitively cooking, so you better eat when the food's freaking here.
And that's what I tell Lennon, like, you're gonna eat now, or you don't get anything the rest of the night. Like, if we're eating dinner now, we're eating. Like, you don't ask me for snacks, no nothing after this. If you're done, then leave my table.
I used to fall asleep at the dinner table too. They would leave my ass there.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I'm a slow eater.
Oh my god.
I've always been a slow eater, so I've been left at the table many of times.
No.
Many of times.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so
As
we
an
have
adult,
time
too.
for one more question.
We have time for 2 more.
2 more.
Yeah.
Roni's got a question
more.
too.
So we have a question. What do you think about prenuptial agreements? I know this is like so.
Who's their husband? I don't need
Sally? No, I'm just kidding. So what do you think of prenuptial agreements? And when you answer with like, would you want your son to get one? You know what I mean? So like, I think it's like a little bit more personal. Like, because at first you're like prenups, you have your opinion about it. But then I think you get more open-minded if you have a son who's successful and then he meets a girl. And then maybe you don't trust the
what
girl.
about the
like,
daughter?
would you want...
What if it's like Marianne's? What if it's a daughter who is successful?
Okay, but it's more common for a man to want a prenup,
No,
right?
I know women.
Oh,
who
here
get
we go.
prenups.
The shame. The shame.
Women-
Do you know?
Yeah, there's women who, yes, who have to get prenups. That, yes.
Well, shit. What if your daughter? Okay, so tell me. Okay, especially if they're dating somebody who's like not making as much money as them. So, what do you guys think of prenuptial agreements? And would you want your son or daughter to get one? So, because I feel like people think of prenuptial agreements as like, oh heck no, like you don't trust or
It
whatever.
depends
But
on
then
the
I think when you think about it with your own family and you're like, my son and my daughter, you want them to protect what they have
Their
or something.
assets.
Like what's your opinion?
My opinion on prenups is like to each their own. Like, everyone has their own opinion. Everyone's relationships are different. I don't know. So,
Would you get one?
with my relationship, no.
How about before? Okay, so say you just met before you met your husband, right? He's your friend. And he said, you know, I've been married before, so I want to have a prenup. Would you take offense that he didn't trust you? But what if he wanted to marry you, but he wanted to make sure you were okay with a prenup?
I mean, depending on our relationship, I would probably just be okay with it. Like, if we are madly in love and we are both stable enough, like if I had a job or have, you know, like a stable job like I can survive without him, I'm fine, because it's not like it's gonna affect me. You know what I mean?
But what if he was like, but I want you to stay home with our kids?
Then that's a difference.
Are there clauses so that you can say like, hey, if I'm gonna be a stay-at-home wife?
I'm like, wait, can I jump in?
It's like double dutch, just jump. Okay, so are there clauses though? Like, okay, in the event if I was a stay-at-home wife,
and it was a mutual agreement.
and as a mutual agreement, the prenup is not valid, or what?
I feel like it's the dynamics of the relationship though, because depending on where you were when you met this person, because I'm a strong believer, like if you met this person and you guys were young and you guys both didn't have shit and together collectively you built something, then don't try to say like, oh, it's a prenup when you didn't have shit. But if you met someone and they were already established and what they had before you met them was their stuff, then that's their stuff and they're entitled to keeping their stuff.
You're on fire right now.
She's had this conversation.
Keep going.
And they're entitled to their own stuff. Like that was theirs prior to you, and who are you to come in the relationship and want it? You know, that's theirs. But if you, like I said before, you worked at this together, then it's kind of like, hold on, wait a minute. Like, you know, so. Okay,
so are there prenups that are like, whatever you had before me is yours, but whatever we build together
there
is
are.
ours?
There's different. You can get them in There's even people who get prenups that are like, oh, okay, if you go outside of this marriage, then it's a clause. But if you don't, then we're good. But if you go outside, then I'm going to take all this.
And I think that that's good. Let me just say on camera, I think that that's good. I feel like if you go outside the marriage, your ass should not get shit. You are forfeiting your half of whatever it is. That's how I feel.
No, I'm right there.
That's
But
how
there's
have a prenup?
Yeah, we have prenup for the $10 we owned before we got married.
I'm like, who asked this question? Because that's never even a prenup.
Did you know there's a postnup?
What is
like
that?
if we decided to get a prenuptial agreement right now as like a married couple, you could get one
Already in the middle
and
of
it's
your
called
marriage?
postnup.
In the middle of your
Postnuptial
marriage
agreement.
right now?
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Now,
Because
what
it's
are
after
your
you're married.
Now, what are your thoughts on that? Because you already married, established with this person, and then they come to you like, by the way, I just hit the lottery and I need a prenup. Like, that was
I think I would be like, why do you want it all of a sudden? All of a sudden, did you come up on some money?
But is that what it is? Like, it's already while the relationship is established?
Yeah, it's randomly at any
see,
time
that hits
somebody
a little
can
different.
all of a sudden, like, say I got a job and I was like, hey, you know what, I'm making really good money. Like, maybe we should just get a postnup.
That's a little different for me because it's like, that's
Like, why? Do you plan on leaving me soon, or?
Okay, now what about for your kids? Do you feel like you would want your child, boy or girl, to get
girls can be bosses too.
So say your kid was older, they were already successful in their careers, they had a house, they had the car, they had whatever, and they met somebody. Okay. Would you want them to get a prenup only if you didn't like their partner?
Beyonce?
But you can't do
Or would you want them to get a prenup, just period? Would you try to ever talk them into it?
I feel like that's where that line is drawn because as a parent of a grown child, no matter what we want for them, they're an adult. So we can only give them our advice.
Yeah.
Like, we can't, demand them, like, you will get a prenup.
Yeah, that's
like,
why I said, what would you want? Not what would you do for them. You can't get them a prenup.
I know, but even then, like, it's I don't even know
Are you going to put your kid in that position, like, awkward position, where you are telling them they should, even though you're not making them?
But if they came to me and let's say, I'll go with my oldest, and say he was successful and he was dating someone and he came to me, I feel like it depends on the dynamic. Like I said, if he was with this girl and I knew that, she was genuine and wasn't out there for his money, then I feel like it would be a little different versus him already being successful and meeting someone who I knew had dollar signs in their eyes, and I would be like, hey, just let me tell you, like, you got to get a prenup.
What if he's
this
like,
girl is
Mom,
about...
I am in love with her. She won't do that
And that's
to
the
me.
thing. That's the chance that you take because then he's only going to listen so much, but you can still tell him, like, look, I know a gold digger when I see one. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to tell your dad if you don't get...
Wait, okay, I have a question because I think that if you put, I could be wrong, but from what I've heard, if you put your house in a trust, you can't get sued for your house. I don't know if that's applicable for prenuptial agreements. So say, for example, like you're in some type of lawsuit and, like you get in a car accident and they're like brutally damaged and they have all of this injuries and you need to pay for it, and then they can go after your house and assets, right?
But if it's in a trust...
But if it's in a trust, protected in a trust, they can't go for whatever's inside of a trust. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But that's what I've heard. So is that the same as a prenup? Like if you have your house and stuff protected in a trust before you met them, would that be, because it's technically not in your name, it's in whoever's the trust?
I don't know. That's a good question. Can somebody let us know? Do you know?
I'm confused about your question.
About the trust?
The house?
Yeah.
Like,
So
why
she's
would
saying
someone
if-
try to
so-
go after your house?
If you can't pay, like say you can't pay out of pocket because the injuries are too much, right? So you would have to sell your assets. You'd have to sell your car, your house to pay off this person's medical bills.
So if your house
so
is
they
under
can
a prenup,
they could force you to pay to sell your house so that you could pay for their assets.
But you're asking if the house is under the prenup agreement, like no one can go after your house?
No, I'm saying a way that people protect themselves from that is to put it in a trust. And I'm wondering if that applies to a prenup. If your assets are in a trust, can the prenuptial or your spouse not take it in a prenup?
Sounds like they shouldn't be able to, but I'm not 100% sure on the answer.
I'm not so against prenups. I feel like if you're an adult, like if you come together as a grown adult, you guys both have your shit. If he was like, hey, you want a prenup? Like, okay, let's get a prenup. Like, what's yours is mine. I mean, what's yours is mine.
Yeah,
what's yours?
Answer right here. Well, she's lied.
What's yours is yours and mine is mine. But I think I agree with what Marianne said. If you are going to be a stay-at-home wife with your children, then I think that there should be some clauses in there that protect you. But that clause is forfeited if you guys cheat.
So I was like,
vice versa. If he cheats on you, you get everything. And if you get everything. And if you cheat on him, you forfeit your cut of the deal. Okay? That's how we feel about prenups, guys.
That's how you feel?
That's how I feel.
Well, you've heard everybody else.
Okay, so our next question is,
dun, 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 dun.
Has your sex life changed during COVID, and how did you avoid getting pregnant during COVID?
Oh, how did you not have a COVID baby?
Mm-hmm. Dude, it sounds like COVID babies are booming.
Yes.
Everyone's pregnant.
Well, my husband has a vasectomy, so ain't nobody
That's
having babies over here. But I was a whole week and a half late for my period this month, and he was like,
question
with that. Yeah, and I'm like,
that prenup clause came into.
Oh, I told him because I have it on my calendar every month. I'm supposed to start.
Were you nervous? Because you know those things can.
And I hear you in my head and other people that are like, this can happen still, you know. And so I was kind of panicking because I'm not ready for it.
A little bit.
No, I was not excited.
Not even a little bit?
Not even a little bit. Oh my God. Which is pretty good because it nipped it in the butt. Because I was having dreams of having babies. Remember I was telling you for the last couple of months I've been having nonstop dreams. And I feel like that scare was like, yeah, reality check, bitch. You don't want another fucking baby. You don't want to get pregnant again. Pregnancies were horrible. So that's
how you avoided it, even though you were late.
Oh, avoided it. Yeah. So like I said, he's shooting blanks, so I didn't have to really worry about it. And then what was the other part of the question?
Has it changed? I didn't know.
How did you avoid
getting pregnant? Has your sex life changed during COVID?
It changed?
During COVID. And how did you avoid getting pregnant during COVID? Did it change, like, because, you know, the kids are home more, so you got to be more discreet? You know, they're doing homeschool, or like, did it change?
See,
but I was never like you with these freaky deaky daytime, freaky deaky daytime ones.
Sneak
so I
session?
feel like it's been the same because the kids still go to bed at a certain time. So it's been.
So it hasn't. So it hasn't improved, or it's still Janelle season 1.
It's not Janelle season 1. It's Janelle season 2.
Or it's season 3.
I mean, season 3.
Well, there's your answer.
No, wait. It definitely has improved, but it's not like Roni over here.
Don't say it's not like Roni.
It's not Roni. But you know, we have had a couple little random daytime ones, but the kids were gone.
Well, because kids make it hard, though. Kids make it hard when kids are home. Like, you really have to be...
But now that we're not doing homeschool, so remember we tried the homeschooling thing, and it was cool because I thought I would be flexible, but we ended up sticking to, like, our traditional school schedule, which defeats the whole purpose. So we went back to the not home-based learning, but what is it called? Distant learning.
Distant learning. Okay.
And that's way better because I don't have to, like, help them as much. You know, with the homeschooling, they had that recorded teacher, but they always needed clarification or some type of help. And this time, now that they're with distance learning, it's so much better. And I think that if I didn't do it the other way, I probably wouldn't appreciate it, the distance learning. But now, like, even my kids are like, I love this distance learning way more. They actually love it because they have a live teacher and they can get immediate feedback from them rather than having to email the teacher, wait a couple of days, and be late on their work, you know? So we love it. But now that they have that, they need me less. So I actually have more time to spend with the girls or take a shower or work out or whatever, or do a little freaky deaky thing. Now that the kids are like with the teacher, then they don't have that freedom.
Basically,
no. Remember she said she bought lingerie.
I'm up with lingerie, so I have so many options for Valentine's Day coming up. Yes.
But have you been wearing it?
I have. And even my husband's like, why are you so obsessed with like pajamas too? I've been upping my game with pajamas and doing the little silky pajamas. Even if they're long sleeve and long pants, like they still make you feel some type of way. So I've been getting like all of these nightgowns. Even for Christmas, I wanted pajamas. Like, how many pajamas do you need? I was like, I have not. You guys made me feel bad for not buying pajamas in like
every night. I wear pajamas.
So yeah.
We made you feel bad,
dude. Yes. So let me tell you about lingerie. The lingerie that is flattering for your body after you have kids, because you know we're self-conscious about the extra
people have
little
kids in their body. I just seen someone that had a baby 3 weeks ago, and I was like, that's not fair.
Okay, if you want to not be fully naked and have good lingerie, there are some styles that I will link in the show notes. But they are like, they're tighter on the bosoms, right? It's like a lace. I think it might be a halter top.
I ordered the romper with the crotchless.
It's a romper! Don't tell them! It's a romper and it's crotchless.
So
and so it's tight on
the... So is it hard to take off?
No, you don't need to take it off.
You don't need to take it off.
So that's the cool thing. It's a romper. And it's like, it's really fitting for the boobs, so it keeps your boobs up, right? And it's like a lace, so it's sexy and kind of see-through. And then it has this sheer shorts that are connected to it, and then it's crotchless, so you just pull those things open.
You have to link it.
It's so cute. I would size up, though, because, like,
it's tiny.
It's super tiny. And I got a large, and that's still tiny, so I feel like...
And I got a 7X. I'm just kidding.
What the hell?
Janelle got so Judy booty over here. Yeah, but I'll link it. It's super cute. They were really cute. And it was like $20, 15.
Not even
15.
It was 16 when I got it.
Yeah, there's some really cute deals.
Check the coupon
on Amazon. You didn't get any?
No.
You're a square.
Oh, so
you're
yeah.
a square. So what about you?
Yeah.
You don't wear anything.
Oh yeah, remember their commando? They just go naked.
Like,
They're but they don't even mess with the clothes.
Yeah, he's like, why are you gonna spend money? I'm just gonna rip it off.
See?
But he doesn't have to rip it off because they're crotchless. This episode is turning into something else. Okay. Well.
So since season 1, I am not breastfeeding anymore. So my sex drive has gone up.
That was a big thing for her first season. Remember?
I'm getting more sleep because the baby sleeps now, so I'm not tired all day long. And Janelle took me to a waxing place, so now I'm like always laser.
You bitches went to a freaking waxing place without me too?
Oh my laser spa place. So now it's like
very fun.
Pristine.
Was it weird when they rolled you over and made you lay on your stomach to like?
She's like, yeah, can you go on your stomach and like pull your butt cheeks open? And I'm like, okay.
It couldn't have been no worse than that like scrub that they do, that little whole body scrub when it's scrubbing you.
Yeah,
it couldn't be no worse than that.
Even in your butthole they did it? Oh my god. I felt like when they were telling you hold it open and my body was clenching. Was your body like trying to shut it as you're trying to open it?
Because you know you're gonna feel that like
you're tense.
Laser thing. I'm like,
does that laser hurt?
It's like a pinch.
It feels like a rubber band that's just snapping.
Yeah, so it's not like, I've gotten waxed before, and that hurts way more.
Did your husband appreciate the laser?
Yes, he does appreciate the laser.
So then, how did you avoid a COVID baby? you don't know
I
if you
think
have?
my birth control's just still lucky these days.
You're on birth control?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know you were still on birth control. I thought, then what are you, oh, but never mind.
I don't want a baby right now. My husband would like to go get fixed.
Oh, is he talking about that now?
But then, like, probably 2 weeks ago, he's like, so should we do a third? And I'm like, nope.
He's back and forth.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
he's-
some days are good, some days he's like, nope.
But where are you?
Me?
Like, strictly no, or you don't know either?
No, I mean, like, I'm not opposed to it, but right now, like, at the ages the kids are at, no, I don't want one right
I
now.
feel like that's kind of a good age for you, though.
I
You don't want
know.
him to
But
be
see,
too
like,
far.
Levi's still in diapers, and I don't know. I don't want it when we're all home right now in COVID.
Mhm.
So, I think that will only be a hot mess for me.
Yikes.
Alrighty, guys. So those are the only questions that we will be able to fit in today. Any other questions will be rolled over.
I didn't even answer.
We don't want to
I
know.
mean, I feel
You're
okay.
gonna make us
Everyone
feel like
already
shit.
knows what I'm doing. So good night. No, it wasn't. It was from user 3612. I'm sure mine will be quick because I know our listeners, they know me very well, so I don't even have to get into detail on what happened in COVID. Things are still, nothing's changed. Let's just say nothing has changed.
But I thought things
still
were
a freak in
changing
the
because you were saying that you guys were sleeping on the couch almost every night with the kids.
I wake him up from the couch. He'll fall asleep on the couch. He just doesn't end on the couch. I'll make him come to bed unless he pissed me off that day. Then he'll stay on the couch. But
Okay.
for the most part,
And plus, he was home more often, right?
he was home a lot more often. So now I feel like it's harder since travel is coming back into factor and we have a lot of stuff going on. I feel like now the hard part is getting in. But I
So,
did
are you
enjoy
taking like
COVID.
a women's Viagra or something?
No, they have that.
She does not need one.
I don't need one.
I'm just wondering how you're just always like
Freaky.
freaky
But no,
all
I'm
the
not.
damn
But
time.
the funny thing, I feel like if you ask my husband, he downplays it so much. It depends who he's talking to, because he'll be like, "No, she never wants it." Which is a clear lie. But I think he just does that to mess with me. I think he has to.
It's like
Unless he's
reverse
like
psychology.
up for way more, because I feel like my husband downplays it too. But I'm like, you don't give me the credit that I
It was
deserve.
like,
Exactly.
I did it 3 times this week.
And sometimes I feel like he can't. Let's just be honest. Sometimes I don't think he can keep up with me.
No,
There's
shit.
been- Yeah.
On that note,
Yeah.
that's the last question of the night. So we will answer any other questions that we missed on the next month's
Question and
episode
answer.
for Asking for a Mama.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us. If you want to catch up on our previous episodes, visit mamasmimosas.com, where you'll get access to all of our podcast show notes, our YouTube videos, and our private Facebook group, where we chat with you about each episode topic and host live question and answers with our favorite mom tribe. Can't wait to see you there.